All
All right.
right, guys. We are officially live on Upstream number 6. How's everyone doing today?
Hey, what's up?
Good,
Great.
good.
Another Sunday. I mean, couple bits of news. I mean, throughout. It's not one of the slowest weeks we've seen. So, just last week we saw Z3 in India sell out of their initial inventory. Uh, I think they sold out in like 2 weeks. How do you feel about the momentum of that?
It's difficult to see, definitely sounds awesome, but I think what we heard that about the Z10 a while back that it sold out. So I'm what is the word? Something optimistic, like cautiously optimistic is the term. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it.
I
For
wouldn't
me,
read too
it's
much into it. Yeah. You can go, Matthew.
okay. Well, the original, like the amount they actually had sold out in stock was only about 30,000 units. So I mean, I guess it's positive, showing that there's at least presence of BlackBerry in India, at least at least like for BB10 devices, and they're like running BBOS or something. But I feel like I harbor back to like Chen's statement. We need to sell like 10 million phones, like a profitable like smartphone sector of our company, but it's positive, but at the same time, I'm kind of the same thing. I'm not too overly optimistic that it's going to have a really positive impact on the company going forward. But it's a good show for other countries and areas and such.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
short term, as long as it's moving, I mean they can keep pace. They need to sell, what are we talking, like 3 million phones a quarter to stay on point.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
doing that. They're doing that with the combined total of both their device segments already. So it's more of like continuing that on and keeping it, making sure that it can, stay profitable for them. Otherwise, then you have to look at cutting it down.
Yeah.
We definitely want our BlackBerry devices.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
thing with selling out, with saying sell out, it's like one of those buzzwords that there isn't really any
Yeah.
value associated with it unless you get like some concrete numbers. So
If it's Apple selling out, that sounds more because we
more
know in the
appealing. That
past.
sounds a
Yeah.
bit more like
It's like whatever.
realistic. Yeah, a
Yeah.
bit more. You can trust that it's going to be big numbers if it's like
Yeah.
Apple saying it, but
Yeah.
BlackBerry saying it sell out. We don't know if it was 5 phones or 5 million phones,
Yeah.
right? I think that what this shows, what I personally believe is that the inventory was a bit lower, and it was just I think it's Foxconn and BlackBerry trying to meet demand and trying to not create too many, not produce too many phones for the demand, but kind of meet it right at that sweet spot. So I think this is a good sign.
Wasn't there just an announcement that there are a few more competitors in or like a new competitor just opened up and they're going to be selling phones in Indonesia cheaper than the Z3? Or did I read that?
I think it was
Any
India.
ring a bell with anyone?
Yeah, that BGR post, like, yeah,
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
it's whatever. There's so many competitors out there, Of
Oh
course,
yeah, it was a
Yeah,
brand I'd never heard of. That's what it was.
yeah.
Okay.
There's just
Yeah.
new players coming to the table, bringing partnerships together. BlackBerry's doing the same thing with Foxconn, and Foxconn is
yeah,
huge. They're behind the some of the Apple products. I don't know if they still do
yeah.
anymore,
The
but
thing with these hardware, like these, I like to call them like indie hardware producers, is that they don't really have a name to their product. Like they have they're coming in, they have these low cost phones, but I mean like that's a game that's been being played already for quite a while in Indonesia and a lot of these markets. So I mean like what's really going to distinguish these new low cost phones? I mean the thing that makes a Z3 stand out in these markets is because BlackBerry has that prestige, that name has that prestige, or at least it did at least a year ago or 2 years ago in Indonesia and a lot of these places. And because they're bringing it down to more of an affordable level, I think it plays a bit more differently than a new player coming into the game and just coming with a low cost heads what's it called, phone device.
Yeah. James, are you reading the chat or something?
I'm doing like a bunch of different things here. So yeah, like outside of the Z3 over in India, initial stock sellout, it was more or less just kind of like some kind of bait link out there for people that wanted to see some kind of momentum. BlackBerry has really been utilizing their blogs a lot more than they used to, and doing a lot of things on the web and kind of getting stories out there. I want to touch on, kind of jump ahead here to the BlackBerry Assistant. and kind of how they brought that piece out. It was kind of more of a, you know, hands-on experience. Like this is how it's been for me in my testings type of thing that they did on the blog. Do you guys like seeing that type of kind of direct marketing to the customer base and to the fans out there?
I have a lot to say about social media and blogging and stuff like that. It's becoming more and more the. I was just watching this guy speak, and he talks a lot about marketing for the year that we live in, and there are so many companies who are still doing print media, and the problem isn't that there aren't as many people necessarily using print. It's just your audience is not as large as it used to be. So the problem is these companies are charging the same price to advertise in the phone book and stuff, yet there's so many less users. So the best thing you can do now is advertise on social media, figure out a way to do that, and blogging, they go hand in hand. And I think it's very refreshing to finally see BlackBerry doing that at the very least, doing advertising in the right way. This is how they should be doing it, for the year that we live in. So I'm happy to see it. But what do you guys think?
I think it's actually, it's awkward times. I think it's great that BlackBerry's at least, catering to that argument, like audience, and kind of pointing out specific features, like what they did with the original BB10 launches, that they really just kind of focused on the BlackBerry Hub and how it manages your conversation flow so eloquently, and I don't know if they touched on active frames too much. Not that I can remember, but I think it's effective at least showing BlackBerry's strengths. I don't know if the search assistant's the best way of going about it, considering people are going to make direct comparisons to Cortana, Siri, and
That's a good point. That's a good point, and the beauty of it is the way they're integrating, the BlackBerry Assistant is through a company called Maluba, and they're another Canadian operation
from Waterloo.
The University of Waterloo.
And there is an established natural processing tool, and it also has a voice assistant. So really, the technology there, pretty depth. And I think people are, as Donnie said, going to be pleasantly surprised when it comes on and it works just as well as everything else. And
it'll work better. It'll work better.
I think so too. I've been playing with it on my Windows phone. I got a shitty 520. Don't think I'm invested. But Maluba's great. I can have a conversational. Oh man, today's been crazy. Can we set an appointment for 6 a.m. tomorrow? I have a meeting that I got to go to with Jeff.
Yeah.
It'll pick it up.
It cuts out all the junk words and it takes the important ones.
Yep.
The contextual words. Yeah.
It's very conversational, very to the point. It does movies, restaurants, things around you. It's pretty cool, and I think the way they're integrating it is going to be awesome because marking messages unread in the hub is actually mind blowing. Think about that. That's something you can't do on other operators.
Especially someone like me who's OCD, who I don't like having lots of notifications in my hub. If there's a notification in there, I have to either look at it or just mark it as read, because I can't stand when I see my friends who have 1,000 emails that haven't been read. It's dude, seriously, how do you even know you have a new one? But
the one thing is, I mentioned it on an earlier podcast, which I really want people to understand this. What is different with this intelligent assistant is, how on iOS, for instance, you pull down on your app drawer and you get the search bar there. So there's the search. And then there's Siri, which you only talk to Siri. So what BlackBerry is doing is they're taking the search and they're taking the intelligent assistant and they're putting them together into one. So you can click the search button within BlackBerry 10 and just be like, I'm feeling lazy, what's going on at the movie theaters tonight? You could type that in your search bar and it'll act like you spoke it, and it'll still give you the response back. So some people are like, I don't want to use my voice assistant in public. I don't want to be walking down the street and be like, hey, BlackBerry assistant, I feel like some cheeseburgers. Where can I go to get you? People don't want to do that. But you can just type it in your phone and you get the exact same type of response. And that's what's so powerful. And I'm surprised that BlackBerry is the first ones to really be integrating the two.
You bring up a really good point, because whenever you're with friends or something and you're trying to figure something out, what's the first thing you do? You open up the browser and you do a Google search. When was this person born, or something like that? Or what was the score of this this sports game or whatever. You pull up Google and it gives you that information. But if you can go into the assistant like that and just do it quickly like that, either through voice or through typing, like it could be quite a useful feature. And it could be a bit different than from some of the other competitors.
If you think back to WebOS used to have a concept like that. With WebOS 2.0 going up, was they had a feature called Just Type, which with the pre-2 or whatever phone you're using, you could just type in whatever you wanted to look for specifically, and you could, like, your query, like let's say you wanted some pizzeria that was close by, you could like customize your search based on, like, you wanted to look through YouTube, and if you wanted to, you could look through Google, you could look through Bing, have the support ever come, and it's kind of funny that BlackBerry incorporated that, at least on the Q10 did with 10.1, that they were able to like kind of incorporate a similar like aspect of desktop onto it.
Yeah, they've had that. It's called, instant action is what they call, at least doing like BBM mom, hey, what are you doing, and send it. That's called an instant action, or call, or TW for Twitter. You can type in Twitter space and type whatever. But then you can also do, they're the extended search, and that's where you can choose Google, Bing, or YouTube, or if you have like other things like IMDb, if you have that set as another search, then you can do that. And so like BlackBerry search is very good if you actually use it. It's not
pretty useful,
instant. It's when you press the button, it's not instant, and that makes me not want to use it. I go to the hub instead of using it because it's like a 2 or 3 second delay even on my Z30. But once it's instant, I think I'll use it a lot more.
What do you guys think about? Do you think they're going to open up the virtual assistant to third-party app developers? So
They said they will.
Yeah.
Oh, they said they will?
Yeah.
There's gonna be APIs for that. What I'm thinking is BlackBerry should just buy Maluba. Like.
Oh, dude, I don't know why they wouldn't. Yeah.
Like, why? The thing is why would you, like, the thing with purchasing a company is that why would you purchase Maluba, just speaking out loud, when you could use them, just license them, and you don't have to shell out that capital to purchase them? And it's not like I'd be very hard to believe that some other competitor is going to buy them out because they already have their own ingrown, solutions. So it just wouldn't make sense for Apple, Google, or Microsoft to buy them. So I just don't see a point in like any need to buy them.
How come these other companies have it internal? Like, why is Cortana exist internal? Why aren't these other companies doing the leasing thing? There must be a reason, and I'm sure if I sat down for a bit, I could think of a few reasons. It makes sense seeing as all the competition. It's just one more thing for BlackBerry to have to make it more of a legitimate company, to have it underneath the shell, even if it doesn't make that much sense. But it can't be that expensive, right? Their app has maybe 50,000 reviews, which is significant for like an Android app. But
I mean, if you think about it, BlackBerry bought into the camera, they bought into StoryMaker as the application, they bought into the browser, so it's like, those were all purchases that were made, like they acquired, and they do it to make it better. So I would love to see them take it. Leverage Maluba now across your QNX cloud and IoT. We're talking cars, kiosks. Like that's what I think. That may not be a direction Maluba wants to go. But if BlackBerry could assume control and kind of, guide it a different direction. Just speculation. They could always build it in house as well, because they've done a lot to join the two technologies on BlackBerry 10 on 10.3.
That's a really interesting point, actually, James. That makes a lot of sense when you put in that light. I wouldn't mind picking your brains, just because you brought it up, about previous purchases and what they've used it for. Do you think that a lot of the purchases they've done in the past, like for companies like that they've used for StoryMaker or whatnot, do you think they've actually fully utilized them, or do you think they were kind of like in the whirlwind of 2011 and all that time where they just kind of purchased them so they can create those apps quickly and they didn't really capitalize on it? I just want to see what your guys' opinions are on that.
I think that if you look at something like what they did with QNX and they built it out over time, that would become the playbook and BB10. I think it's something that just because they purchased it and they did something in the short term doesn't mean it's great things can't come of it later.
Okay.
Like StoryMaker could become something far more expansive later down the line, like something akin to what's that BlackBerry kind of pseudo PowerPoint app? It's not really a PowerPoint
Express.
app. Express.
It's really good. That's like my favorite app on BlackBerry 10. It's not even like a full app. It's in beta.
I loved it on my Q10.
It's
just
been in beta for so long.
It's so good though, like as is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can export it and do some
Oh
fun
yeah,
stuff with it. Like
Well,
it's
that's what
cool. You can like take video of it, like of your screen, and like play it as a video presentation as well. So
it's really cool.
well, that's the thing. It's like they can build something like that and have more of a tighter integration with like the same formatting. Like you could put like PPT, like PowerPoints with like other PowerPoint kind of things interlock them together and stuff like that.
It's interesting you brought that up because when we saw the BlackBerry Blends kind of demos leak out, we saw a third-party section, and in that section they had BlackBerry Express.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's photos of that out online, and
kind of like a Google Drive like shared PowerPoint kind of.
It like Hub, they want to build a way for developers to get in, and BlackBerry Blends will see that, I'm sure, after some months after launch, if not on launch day, to open up some more APIs. When are you developers expecting kind of new tools? Now that you've already got your Gold SDK, what do you see next coming down the pipe?
And that's the thing. That's the big question mark. Is that a lot of the stuff that we have now, it's like stuff that we already know, that we've already seen. But I think what's really gonna like be some of the big, really hard-hitting features that's gonna get people excited is gonna be when maybe the Gold SDK for 10.3.1 is gonna come out. Because right now, a lot of the new features for like what I'm gonna use and what most of the developers are gonna use is gonna be a lot of UI adjustments, which are useful in their own right because the way your app looks and how it feels is very important as well, not just functionality. I don't know. I'll pass it off to Alex. What do you think?
Sorry, I kind of got lost a little bit. What was it about exactly?
Like James was talking about how like all these new functionality look like they're gonna come with like blends and other stuff, and he was wondering like when do you think we're gonna see that come in terms of developer tools and APIs? Like for instance, the voice integration API, that's not available in 10.3 Gold
No,
SDK,
okay.
So
when I was watching, what is the company again? I always forget their name for the voice, the new
Maluba?
voice. Maluba. They were showing an example of how to integrate it in, and I think they used either Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons. I used probably Tim Hortons for example, and they said literally as the developer, all you do is send us in a request and you give us like the sizes. So it'd be like small, medium, large, extra large, and then like milk, cream, sugar, double, and just like a few terms. They're like you just send it over to us, and within like 24 hours we'll implement it in there. So it sounds like it's a very easy thing to do. Say that Tim Hortons has an app and they want to integrate that within there. I'm trying to think of how that would even work. Whether it be like order me. Yeah,
like
just
new BB10 APIs and stuff like coming down the pipeline. When do you think we'll see those?
Do you think they're going to give developers like Blend like control over
That's the
Blend?
thing. I'm not sure they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, what other stuff?
I think they are going to have third-party extensions so that like if my phone is bridged to my computer, I can make a BlackBerry Express presentation off of the phone.
I'm sure with everyone else.
But do you
Okay,
think
definitely down the line I can see that. Okay.
Core apps? Do you think it's going to be core apps only, or both core and third? Because I think it's going to be core apps.
It looks like third-party on the photos.
Okay.
It'll be the same third party as the hub is currently letting you in.
Yeah,
Pretty
like
much you need to be a big name app or you need to have connections.
Exactly.
You got to be like, Black for Twitter and all that. You got to be a bigger developer with a good.
You got to be one of those special cases.
Well, it might be like BlackBerry specific too. I mean, like it could be like just for a little.
It could be core. It could be
certain enterprise, I don't know, some sort of like. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
No, did any of you guys read up or listen to the Black Phone rebuttal that they did? BlackBerry did a fact check on Black Phone, and Black Phone in turn responded. It was unabashedly short-minded.
Yeah, they called the passport the passbook because just like little things that it shows they were more of like ranting rather than combating.
Yeah, BlackBerry did it very professionally, no jabs. It was more like A very
It's like
consolidated, redefine of what was going on.
it's a big company versus small company, and BlackBerry really couldn't get away with bashing that way. Anyways, the only way that you can really get away with that is being a company as small as BlackPhone, and they'll take the publicity. They don't care that
Yeah.
they said some lies or the way that they said things. I don't know. I think they're a very, very small company, like less than 20 employees.
Hmm.
So they could be a little bit more, they're fighting for the space. They can say kind of whatever they want, really.
Yeah.
BlackBerry has to be careful in their rebuttals, is the
I'm
thing.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was reading the Black Phone rebuttal, I was like, man, this is pretty harsh. This guy's
Yeah.
like, this guy
Uh,
took it really personally. Which I mean,
but
like if he's the CEO, it's his baby. He's gonna take it
Yeah,
personally. But I
absolutely.
mean, like I was just surprised at the tone it was done. I'm not used to seeing it done in that way.
it was
I think
it was an interesting kind of like outcry almost in a way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's so interesting because it's like why don't the two talk? You know, why don't they get Black Phone running QNX? You know, on their own
Hmm.
modded version with all of their apps.
Yeah.
It's like honestly they could be again they're all focusing on the same thing. Imagine locking down a Black Phone with BES.
The only thing I will say is that I didn't like Blackphone is such a small company, and like I haven't really heard that much about it, so I just didn't see a reason why like BlackBerry would even waste their time
They gave it
to
free
to
publicity.
give it free publicity. That's the only thing I just don't get about this because no one was talking about Blackphone. Then they were just out of the blue they go and do this. Like Blackphone, last time I checked, Blackphone wasn't even like outwardly attacking BlackBerry or saying stuff about BlackBerry, at least that I've seen. So I just feel like it was kind of like
They were prematurely defending their grounds. I think
yeah.
before all the publicity came out to BlackBerry kind of wanted to dumb it down at first and be like, they're really not as great as they make it sound, and you should trust a company that's been doing it for so long. And then I don't think
So
this
Yeah.
went the way they were hoping it would go.
Yeah.
right off of that, Alex, I think we need to jump into like the biggest piece of news maybe that happened this week, and that was not actually BlackBerry news. It was Apple and IBM news. So what do you
Yeah.
guys think about that enterprise play? I think it deserves a set time for discussion. It's a big piece of news, and it has a lot of would-be conjecture points. So let's try to
Can
clear the air. Go
Well,
for it,
first,
Alex.
can we first just talk about what exactly it is? From reading the articles, it makes it sound like all that's really going on is IBM is going to make about 100 apps for iOS, just like work-related apps.
No, no, Alex, haven't you seen the stock price? Like apparently they're taking over corporate.
And it's like IBM and Apple, they always hated each other. And as far, it's PC versus Mac. Like this is a weird partnership to happen. But it doesn't seem like they're not offering the end-to-end solution that BlackBerry is. They're really not. I don't know. Do you guys have? I
well,
don't have
actually, well,
words. I'm just like infuriated by
well,
it.
for me, I just thought it was just like I thought it was just that. It was just like
Just
Apple
apps.
or yeah, just applications. I didn't think there was any sort of end
No,
to end solution, so I didn't know where BlackBerry
there's
came
a
in with
little
arguing on
there's a
this.
little bit more going on, and Brandon, I don't know if you want to touch
Yeah.
on it.
Well, well, I just want to give my own views because I was talking to my mom and she studied computer science at Waterloo back in the 70s. So she worked for digital and stuff, and so she knows all this stuff, all the IBM Apple stuff, and she was very skeptical that this is going to work. It's just because they're two different companies with two different, completely different views on a lot of
Mm.
thing, and she
Yeah.
said that it's probably going to be really difficult for them to work together and come up with like one unified product. And she was of the strong opinion that it's probably not going to work. And I can kind of agree to the same extent. I mean, it's so like it was so out of left field that it's
Yeah.
like I just but
It's
then again, Apple's really good at coming out with left field stuff, and then at the end of the day, you see what they make out of it. But
There are two
Well,
ways you can look at it. Like either this could have just been a last-ditch effort because they're like, oh shit, BlackBerry actually like they're getting some traction with enterprise and security, and we're having these security flaws. So it might have been them
yeah,
just like last minute, be like, shoot, what can we do? Oh, let's do this partnership. Or it could have been something that was planned out for a long time, and they're like, this is our path to defeat
and
BlackBerry.
the thing that like just adding on to that to the two different views is that I always before with QNX and BlackBerry and IBM, I always saw IBM as kind of because they're doing a whole bunch of things with the Internet of Things and stuff. I always thought IBM was going to be more of a collaborator with QNX and BlackBerry as opposed to a competitor. And I'm not really, and I think there's just that big question mark about this deal as to what you were, like, back to you, Alex. We just don't really know exactly what this deal is going to mean.
And it won't be for another like 8+ months before we start seeing like anything at
They
all,
they said
right?
fall. They said
They
fall
said
of this year.
fall.
They're gonna start.
Hmm.
But
Fall
here's
this year. Okay.
as Brandon made a great point earlier. It was on the the consistency of that partnership and how well it's going to actually work for them. And as he kind of mentioned, an integrated solution across an end-to-end type thing is not what they're bringing to the table because there can't really be a true harmony between the systems. They're kind of just bringing applications, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're not gonna do something like Knox or something.
Yeah, what they're doing behind it. Well, they are kind of. IBM has their own MDM platform, so and it's cross device. So supposedly they're going to be
Okay.
taking iPads and iPhones and trying to push them on IBM customers. So will that encroach in BlackBerry's thing? Yes, but at the same time, there are two different solutions, I think, for two different types of enterprise. There's an enterprise that needs the strict regulatory, encryption and security that BlackBerry brings, and at the other time, there's companies that really don't. They just kind of need email. They don't need secure
Yeah.
workspaces, work and personal. They don't need the as robust a solution for their security needs.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's really going to come down to what they provide, because BlackBerry, like Good, Mobile Iron, they can all like work with Apple devices in the enterprise. So it's not like this is really holding back people in enterprise from using Apple devices. It's really going to come down to the security. And I'm not really sure if like IBM has really had like has always been at the forefront of security in terms of mobile. So maybe with desktops and all that, but with mobile, I've never really equated IBM with security. But who knows? You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where we're gonna have to wait and see. Will they take the world by storm? I don't think so. They're developing apps. Um, I don't even know. We don't know enough about the deal yet to see how it'll affect BlackBerry, but we can all agree that BlackBerry was on a bubble. Their stock price is going up and up and up. Everyone is actually talking positive news with BlackBerry, saying they're about to hit their 52-week
Yeah.
high.
53.
They were waiting for this.
Yeah.
Any little bit of news that could go against BlackBerry, all the shorts and everyone, they were looking for this to just blow it up. And I think
Yeah.
that is really what happened. Not so much
Yeah, I don't think
of the
that.
partnership, but you can't really accuse any of that. You can just
No.
I don't know.
I mean, it was suspect, because if this news hadn't come out, I mean, the stock would still be on an upward trend, I would believe, firmly.
It was one of those reactionary things that's like
Yeah.
they're like everyone
Yeah.
runs one way. There's always
Yeah.
a duality in the viewpoints on shares.
Mhm.
So
The thing with BlackBerry stock is that, like, almost any company can come up with news, like neutral news, and that will make like investors freak out on BlackBerry stock. So you've always got to wait till the dust settles and see what happens afterwards. Okay.
Cool. How about we move on?
yeah, what do you guys want to talk on next? I mean, they had the marketing VP who went out on Advertising Age and did a Q&A and discussed a couple of topics. Did anyone read
I
up
don't
on
have
that?
a good thing to pull from that. I skimmed it.
BlackBerry synonymous with business.
Yeah, I was talking to James. Like, I was like, I was telling him how I heard the headline, and I was like, okay, yeah, we've already heard that like BlackBerry's all about enterprise. Like, I just wasn't interested in listening to it from the marketing guy. I mean, we already know.
Yeah,
That's
when Tom did an interview over in Washington at the BlackBerry Experience with John Sims,
Hmm.
John Sims said like we're not spending any money on anything outside of advertising for enterprise purposes.
Hmm.
So how long that stays true or on the record, we can't say, but at least we can kind of grasp that they're going to be pulling in money and resources to focus on enterprise. Do you guys think like we'll see like an advertisement for 10.3 like
I
oh
think the next Z30 that's supposedly coming out early next year, I think that running 10.3.1 I just said point and then dot, whatever, 10.3.1, that will be advertised a little bit, hopefully, because that's definitely a consumer thing, and they could talk about the Android apps and the Amazon App Store, and it's actually further down the line. It'll be like 8 months from now, and we'll know where that Amazon App Store stands at that point. So,
Actually, I think in terms of like an advertisement perspective, it'll come with you'll see the like
Passport?
it'll come with you'll see the passport and then like it'll say like passport, the greatest enterprise solution ever in the history of anything, and then like to really nail it home, it'll say, oh, and by the way, it'll have like that one like that what the Steve Jobs used to say, like that just one more thing, and then it'll be like it comes with BlackBerry blends, and then like the enterprise customer base will explode. And the greatest thing ever.
I'll explode if that happens.
Right?
Yeah.
I would be stoked because it's like BlackBerry doesn't spend enough time kind of telling people why they have the best solution out there, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on here when we go into Q and X a little bit more and what they've been talking on in that arena. But as a transition here, what do you guys think about BBM moving over to Windows in beta form? I have it running on a device.
That's funny.
I mean, one more platform, so it was good for BBM.
I thought it was very interesting that they wrote it like natively, which was very interesting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we talked
that's
about
the
that
key
last.
interesting part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it just shows more and more the route that they need to take with iOS and Android. A lot of people I've talked to who are running BBM on iOS, they use it, but I think they would be a lot happier if it was native.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, because I wrote a review on it.
Oh,
actually, in my BBM for iOS review, I honestly the most troubling thing I found it was like its visual inconsistency and like just some of the more like it didn't feel like something like Facebook, which is like it's smooth, it's consistent throughout, and I don't know if that's a result of just the many more variations that come through software updates.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that BBM for iOS definitely had a few kind of caveats it really needed to work through.
Would you be more likely to use it though if it had like a native iOS UI? Is that what's really holding you back, or is it more just the functionality and the smoothness aspect of it?
I would say it's the functionality primarily.
Okay.
It's I use it daily anyway, but I found that like some of the more like kind of buggier aspects of it, like BBM voice, just muddle. Like I have friends who use BBM, like you use BBM, and they themselves are also on like iPhones and like one Android phone, and like when I need to call them because I don't have to send a message, just like when you have BBM voice crashing on you like inexplicably or just not working out right.
Oh, really?
It just muddles like an otherwise really good overall user experience. I mean, channels.
iOS to BB10, there are some problems. I've been talking on voice. Once it gets connected, normally it's pretty good, but getting connected took me 3 or 4 times. Talking to my buddy from the UK.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, there's lots of people that I know who have iOS devices and BBM, and it's definitely acknowledged that BBM there is room for improvement in terms of the stability on that platform, based on what I've heard and what I've seen. So you're not wrong with those sentiments.
Talking more about it being native, I was just sitting and thinking about this for a second. And when you're developing a native app, then it actually pulls some of the core OS like look and feel to it. So the problem is like BlackBerry 10.3 is coming out. It has entire UI overhaul. What they're going to have to do for iOS and Android is they're going to have to go into all these different assets and switch them over to the new UI. Whereas if they had a native UI being pulled from the core assets of Android and iOS, they wouldn't have to do that. So they're actually putting more work on themselves trying to give the BlackBerry 10 feel on iOS and Android rather than just doing the Android feel and iOS. So, for the short term, it kind of made sense. We were thinking maybe you could pull some people to BB10 if they loved the experience, but now I'm thinking definitely the wrong route.
Actually, I have a question, though, regarding the fact that it's non-native kind of explains sort of the buggier aspects of it, because I've had some of my own groupings and stuff. Like, I used to have a WebOS group that was actually somewhat sizable at about like 20 people or something, but inexplicably, I would have this group like completely disappear. I wouldn't be logged in as an administrator anymore. It would just be.
I've had some weird group things happen where I was the administrator. I switched devices. I switched back. My BBID kind of floated around there for a while. I came back. I'm not the administrator, and someone else deletes the group. So I'm like, well, I can't do anything about it.
I
So
think you're gonna have problems no matter what.
yeah, to answer,
Whether
to answer your question, it is native to the platform. It just doesn't look native.
Yeah.
So,
Right. It doesn't use core functionality.
Yeah, it's not using like the
core
user
assets
interface.
necessarily.
Yeah, it's not using the user interface type of like the
assets,
built-in.
but it's
Yeah,
still
assets and
a
user interface, but
fully native
It's
experience.
native. Yeah.
it
Sorry.
is it
it
is
is
an
native.
actual app built for iOS and Android. They're just not using like the same user experience and UI. They've actually gone and done extra work to make it specifically look like BlackBerry 10.
Okay.
And that's the thing, a hodgepodge of different like visual styles and OS environments is not something you see on iOS. Yeah,
No.
BB10 is running, native. It's running HTML5. It's killing Adobe, thank God.
Wait, BB, it's running HTML5 on
Yeah.
iOS?
Yeah, you can still run web
Yeah.
apps, totally.
No, on
Wait,
BB10,
no, what are you
Alex. We're talking about BlackBerry 10.
Yeah, we transitioned away
Oh.
from iOS to BB10.
No, I thought you were
Very
saying.
quick.
I thought you were saying that the BB10 or BBM app on iOS was built in HTML5, and I was like, I
No.
don't. Okay, sorry, my
I
bad.
think the
It was
only
built
app
under
built
Adobe Air.
Yeah. Okay.
Adobe Air. Man, I'm still kind of sore about the playbook, guys. Like, I'm not even gonna. I can't even. Like, I still have it.
I have it too.
Charged. Mine stays charged. I don't use it.
haven't used it though
That's
since I
true.
got my Z30.
I invested so much. Like, I got the rapid chargers. I got the
Yeah.
HDMI cable.
Yeah.
I got like,
Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah.
You know what killed it for me though? You know what
Yes.
killed it for me is no bridge. I bought a playbook in anticipation of getting a BB10 device, and when I got my BB10 device, there was no bridge functionality, like no useful bridge functionality at least, like
nothing
none of the
close
text
to,
message BBM and stuff. And I was like, oh man, like I was really looking forward to that. But
Yeah. Let's not start any negative drama. This is so old. This is 4 years
know.
old, guys.
it's like that.
I don't know.
One thing.
As I look at the Z3 specs, I can't help but just laugh at the whole situation because it's something that they could do. It's not infeasible.
It might not make sense monetarily.
I agree with that. Like, it doesn't make
It's
sense for them
artists.
right now, but it's not that they can't. It's that they are choosing not to because BB10 is more important.
And that's probably why Torsten or whoever he's pretty much made it sound pretty like it's coming to the playbook
Yeah.
because it was more like spec wise it made sense. It was definitely going to come.
I was actually on Reddit the other day and I was searching through the Ask Me Anythings, and I just happened to stumble upon like a former BlackBerry employee at AMA, and the question about the playbook and why like it didn't get BB10 came up, and it was for like he brought up the points about like the memory issue, and it said that like yeah they could have brought it over to Playbook 10, but the amount of work and effort it would have taken to get there, it just wasn't worth it. Especially since they didn't have any plans for like a new tablet or anything at the time. So that's why they didn't develop it. At least that's what this person said. So take it for what it is. I still think they should have brought like small aspects of it, like maybe just the hub and the browser and the keyboard.
Would have been much needed.
It leads us back to BlackBerry blends. Are we
Yeah.
going to see an extension for Playbook? Are they going to toss us a bone, or are they going to?
That's the thing, is that like you look at the Bridge app now, you do the bridge between your BB10 device and the Playbook, and you've got like the text message app and the BBM app, and they're done in like a Playbook, in a BB10 type of layout. It's got the BB10 user interface there on those Bridge apps. So I think really Blends is kind of like an early version of Blends. I mean Bridge. Yeah, I think Bridge is an early version of Blends. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's a mixture. It is Bridge and it is also what is that stupid
Link.
Fusion.
Link? Thank you. Yeah, Link.
Link.
It's Link and Bridge together. That's what Blends is.
I wonder how
What's
like
important to
feature.
note, though, like,
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
okay, sorry. It's really important to note though that the playbook is at EOL. It's not supported anymore, nor is it manufactured. I mean, so I think seeing any sort of actual software update of any kind, like even with like Blend support, it's like it's
It'd be almost a
negligible.
bad thing. It would almost be a
Yeah,
bad thing to
exactly.
happen because it's like they killed it off. Just let it be dead. Stop trying to resurrect it and bring it back. And
Yeah.
You're right. The media would have a frenzy with it
they
if you think
would.
about it.
It
They'd
would
be
almost
like,
be a bad thing if
BlackBerry
they bought it. Yeah,
last ditch attempt brings back playbook for
Yeah.
what?
it
For
wouldn't
what?
even be good. Yeah.
And then they're like playbook 2 question mark. Maybe we'll get BB10 on this one, and it's a
Yeah.
firestorm that just goes everywhere.
We're pretty sure they're working on a tablet for next year.
Y-
And I still don't think it's a good idea.
No,
But at the
I
sa- but
do
at
not
I
agree.
know.
but at the same time, in lieu of this IBM and Apple deal, the very thing they will be doing is pushing iPads at enterprise. So it's like, do you just let them have that market, or do you do something about it? And if they
That's
can
what.
do it with Foxconn on the cheap, I mean,
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's
true.
what
You get like a
blends.
$200 like 7-inch
Yeah.
BB10 tablet. I mean, that'd be great.
even bigger. I mean, we could go like 8 or 9 and just kind of coming at a range that is both functional and mobile.
Yeah, you can have this
Yeah.
iPad Mini, or you can have this 9-inch Playbook 2.
I
Or
wouldn't call it playbook at all.
yeah.
No, yeah, they would ditch that
I call it
terminology.
port pass or something.
That's where blends
it's
comes in, you know? You gotta like I think they should just focus on blends, make it awesome, and then
yeah,
you can use your BB10 device on literally like all your
a
competitor
glass
devices.
screen or
So as
anything.
long
Yeah,
as someone's
yeah.
got a BlackBerry 10, it doesn't matter if you have an iPad, an Android tablet, or desktop if you're at a computer
They
or a
don't need a
MacBook or something.
tablet.
All
Yeah.
you need to have is your BB10 device, and boom, you can connect to any other like tablet or device that you wanna like use, and you can have all the same services on every single one. You don't have to be locked down to a specific tablet or OS to get those features. And I think that's going to be a real key,
Absolutely.
in
I 100%
this.
agree, Brandon.
Have you guys been or heard about how well the Chromebook has been selling in schools? Unsurprisingly, because it's very cheap and
Yeah.
essentially it's just like
All
it's
you
a
need
terminal that you log into. Essentially, it's
Yeah.
cheap,
Yeah.
and that's what BlackBerry is
blends.
kind of going towards. Yeah, blends will be the terminal, and your phone is what runs your computer.
And I mentioned this in when after I went to the experience in Toronto. What was it called? The BlackBerry Experience Toronto a few months ago. And I spoke to John Sims, and he said that all the major new BlackBerry services coming out will be cloud services, and those are going to be the big things coming out in the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if that exactly what you're talking about is what's going to happen, Alex. What it's
Yeah,
going to
no, I
be.
definitely think I believe in that, and I think the playbook it had its purpose, and if it weren't for the playbook, which that I definitely see the playbook as a beta test when they gave it out, our BlackBerry 10 devices initially would be running off of Adobe Air. The old settings app was built on Adobe Air because
Mhm.
they were transferring over the playbook to a smaller device, and they realized, hey, maybe we should do this in Air, and maybe we should build the core off QNX, and all that stuff went on, or right when they were buying QNX or whatever happened. But the playbook is essentially what helped determine that they couldn't just have an operating system running off of Air. It had to be something more. So it had its purpose, and I think they did fine for what it was. There was a big shitstorm with it, but I don't know.
Big one. I'm still having it, dude. I
Stop.
can't. I'm not even gonna lie. So, 2 days from today, guys, the Z3 hits the Philippines. I mean, it's pretty dispersed at this point, the device overall. It's hit most of its markets. I think we're just kind of waiting on this LTE version. Have we heard about
From
any of the?
US.
Yeah, the U.S., the North American,
Mhm.
maybe UK as well. What other markets do you think it'd go to on LTE variants? South America, maybe?
Brazil. I'd say.
Who
I'm not
else
really
has
sure.
LTE? Like Western Europe, Eastern Europe?
The
Yeah,
UK,
Western Europe.
yeah, Western Europe and stuff like that.
You'd probably go to Orange in France, maybe.
Yeah.
Deutsche Telekom, Germany.
Maybe like Australia, New Zealand, maybe like But like overall, like it's been a pretty interesting ride for the Z3. We just saw yesterday, I think, a 1 day only sale to get it over here in these markets. How many do you think people have bought it or not? It's a
I almost did.
3G low end device. I mean,
What was that? What was that 1 day sale only
yeah, it was a 1 day deal
on Shop BlackBerry or?
on
No,
Expansies.
it was
Yeah.
a weird
Oh,
site.
Expansies, something like that. But yeah, it was priced at like 230 and 250 if I remember for U.S. and Canada respectively.
Yeah,
So
James, sorry,
yeah, no, go for sure.
He made me so mad. We were having a conversation about like what I told him about it, or he told. Well, I saw a post about it, and I was like, "Is this actually a thing?" And he's like, "So, what are you gonna do about it?" I'm like, I'm gonna buy this thing, of course." And we got in this conversation about how I shouldn't buy the Z3 because I love the Z3. I think it's just because what it offers based on the price. It's. I would go with that over a Moto G any day of the week, and then he convinced me just to go for the 199 Z10 as opposed to like the 229 Z3 because I
I'm
get
si-
LTE, etc., etc.
yeah, I'm saying I think you'll get a nicer experience overall, like as your re-entry into BB10, going for an all-touch device. Be it the Z3. I just thought like as a device, as something you're going to want to use long term, I think you might enjoy the Z10 more. Not that the Z3 is a bad device. I hear it
Really,
runs Android applications better. You have the bigger screen. I know with 10.3, it's going to be a pretty parallel experience across their devices, but I just think you'll get more bang for your buck, so to speak, with the Z10.
And you'll get the best bang for your buck for the Z30. Just saying.
Right,
And
right.
you'll get the best bang for your buck with the passport. Just saying, when it comes out. Just
Or I
kidding.
could just,
Dude,
or I could just
every other
go
day.
backwards and go over a playbook again.
The more and more I use my Z30, the more I'm kind of turned off from the passport. Like one day I want the passport real bad, and then it's like, but I really love my Z30, and now
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna wait for early next year for the update to the Z30.
Yeah, same,
Um,
same.
which I like. I don't know.
Although
It's
that
such a tough
new,
choice.
although that new leak of the passport keyboard acting like a trackpad,
Yeah.
that was pretty neat because I originally thought the keyboard, the touch sensitive keyboard, was mainly just going to be used for deleting words and moving back and forth, like scrolling side to
Yeah.
side between letters. But when I actually saw it, it's actually like a full trackpad, the whole thing. You can actually scroll down websites, just scrolling your finger on it, touch and all
Yeah.
that. That's actually pretty neat.
Yeah.
I figured they would go with that originally because they'd have to use like more functionality to that little scrolling
Yeah.
aspect of the keyboard than just like for like text highlighting and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah, it's a really cool technology from what they've told us on the blog and what like people we've seen in demos and different
Mhm.
hands-on. It is a pretty much marriage of the virtual and physical keyboards on BlackBerry 10. We have the Q10 type, straight frets, big keys, really easy target points, but all of that with a touch-sensitive layer underneath.
It's
You're able
it's
to flick up words, do all of that, delete words with a swipe back. I mean, and trackpad ability as well.
it's that Apple feature. You know how Apple always has that one feature that they can boast about and
yeah,
market
Touch ID on the
device on,
5S. etc.
right? I
Yeah.
feel like the passport, it'll be this keyboard, this touch sensitive keyboard will be, BlackBerry's, one Apple feature that they can market the device on.
Keyboard with an integrated touch
Yeah.
panel for swiping and
This
scrolling.
is the one thing I like about all this is innovation though. Like this is innovation.
It
It's
is.
not just we made the screen a little bit bigger, guys, like we're innovative. Look at this nice new like phone how it looks. Like BlackBerry, you can't say that BlackBerry isn't innovating. Yet
Yeah,
I still
It's
feel
not
like
anymore.
people will be like the iPhone 6 when it comes out, I'm sure it'll be a good device. It'll be, they have the 4.7-inch and the 5.5 or whatever, and it's just going to be a bigger device, I think. It's not innovative. They're going to be using, I forgot what type of glass it's called. I was just watching like a video about it. They'll be using a different type
Sapphire?
of sapphire crystal glass or whatever. And it's like that's not innovative. I mean, yeah, they're using nicer materials and they've always been about high end, but it's not innovative. BlackBerry's
it's
finally,
resourceful. It's
there you go.
resourceful,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
innovative.
yeah,
They're doing. I know Apple is doing a lot. Like we know they have
yeah.
continuity and they're not being
Hands off.
stagnant in any way.
No.
But I think their market direction is so much different than where we see BlackBerry going.
It's more consumer oriented.
Definitely. Even with the IBM deal, I feel like Google is actually looking at enterprise a lot more with the absorption of
I
Knox.
hope.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll? I don't know. I think it would be cool to tie up with Google, like
I
BlackBerry and Google
I
with the
just
same partnership. You don't like it?
I do. I really think
Okay.
Android has an initiative, or Google has an initiative for Android at work, and I think BlackBerry needs to be the foundation of that. And like as we transition now, I'm totally taking this over, and let's head over to like talking QNX because I think at this point we've seen kind of a revelation of what their M2M play is with at least automotive. We already see it, healthcare, and as well some of these other businesses that they want to go into. With QNX, they just announced in a webinar about Project Ion, and we've heard a lot of things about it. It was a very intense experience to say the least. When I watched the whole hour, I listened for the Q&A at the end. They touched on a couple good things, and they actually brought up some news. I haven't put it into a post, and I probably should, but at the end, at the very very end in the Q&A, I think Steve West, if I could be wrong on that name, but I believe the orator of the presentation says we do plan on announcing a big partnership later this year alongside our further intentions of Project Ion. So it's almost as if the Apple IBM deal is preceding news that we already know is coming, that a partnership is happening. Because these companies have industry
Yeah.
insiders that work to see what the competition's doing, how they're doing it, and all that. And of course, money talks in that regard.
Yeah.
Actually, what's really funny is I really thought briefly that BlackBerry was actually going to partner up with Microsoft for a similar like kind of like a deal like with Apple and IBM, but then I realized that it's probably because I misread the story. It was actually that just Apple or Microsoft and BlackBerry were just co-hosting a security conference together, and the hopes were
Yeah.
just dashed like right then and there.
I mean,
Mhm.
think about that a little bit though, because a lot of people they're either hoping for Microsoft or Google. Realistically though, why? Like, I could see Microsoft pushing it, but why would BlackBerry go with Microsoft? They'd make more sense to go with Google, seeing as your BlackBerry 10 device runs Android
And
apps. So
Android apps.
we're essentially trying to be a security fork of Android, like
I've said it
way.
before. I've said it
So
before, and I'll say it again here that BlackBerry wants to enable. They don't want to necessarily be in the hands of. They don't. They. I think a partnership we'll see in the Internet of Things for Project Ion. We're looking closer at a partner like Cisco Systems, who runs a huge amount of the web routers
Mhm.
that are pushing traffic online right now. I think we're
Mhm.
going to see more of a data play than we're going to see any consumer or a peripheral kind of play. Would I like to see a Google BlackBerry kind of merger and do something in that arena with secure workspace?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
And
think Cisco is definitely like, if I were to bet on a company if they're going to merge with, not merge with, I mean work with, partner with, I think Cisco. There's always been that kind of view of, Cisco and BlackBerry would go hand in hand. Even when they were talking about people to purchase BlackBerry a few months ago, a lot of people were saying Cisco to purchase BlackBerry makes a lot of sense. So I would take that as kind of, it would make a lot of sense to have those two partner up
Yeah,
in a business sense.
Cisco is an interesting company, as a whole, because they've been kind of struggling into a domain that they really kind of bought into. They had bought something called a flip video cam. It was a video camera that you press the toggle
oh
on the
yeah.
side and a USB shot up and you could just plug it
Oh yeah,
directly
and
in.
you can hear yeah.
So they've dabbled in that arena. They had I forget the name of it, but they had a tablet based phone. If you watch a lot of movies or TV shows, most of the business phones that these people are picking up say Cisco systems on them. It's really used in a lot of intranets as a LAN based phone system.
Hmm.
So they've got a couple different plays with WebEx as well, where it's pretty much the conference tool. It's one of the top ones out there
Mhm.
for different web conferences and things like that. So they've got a lot going on, and I think there could be a real marriage of those technologies. QNX again would be at the very bottom of this solution. And again, when we talk about enabling Project Ion and what they want to do, they got to bring together carriers. They've got to bring together partners, be it startups, be it established businesses. What they
Yeah.
want to do is kind of bring down the barriers for these different organizations who want to tap into the Internet of Things. You
A
know,
lot, yeah. A lot of companies, like a big market now is definitely is getting data and being able to make sense of that data. And a lot of the hard stuff about, it's not so hard to make to look at data and kind of come up with figuring out what what it means. The hard part is actually getting the data and compiling it in a way that you can actually make those decisions off. I think Project Ion is a good is a good it's a good venture in terms of if it does pan out to be what they say it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be a tool for businesses and companies to get a lot of this analytical data so that they can make better decisions on future products and future business decisions. I think that's a really important tool if it pans out working.
They were talking, and the way he made it sound, at least to me, was that you too, as a developer, or well, as developers rather, would be able to tap into those kinds of data streams with the Cassandra databases, with the servers in place, with the whole kind of connection that you don't have to build a back end to support your application. And you just think about the scalability of that with the security. They also mentioned as well that it was all about, we want to transport your data, but we don't want to look at it. We don't want to store it anywhere. We just want to move it. So again, when we're looking at the baseline of the Internet of Things, who's to say the Apple IBM thing is so far out of reach when IBM is still kind of competing in a space where BlackBerry plays? BlackBerry just got their devices certified for IBM's MDM platform. So it's kind of a cross-symbiotic relationship there, because the enterprise churn on these different companies is pretty substantial when you look at it as a whole.
Definitely.
I mean, if we transition QNX talk over to what we've seen in NantHealth, I posted a video that I saw on a BBM channel. It was a really cool video from the billionaire CEO of NantHealth, the company that BlackBerry did a $100 million took a $100 million minority stake in. Really interesting interview overall. He's talking more about the healthcare implications, and he does mention and talk about being able to take their clinical operating system that they've built across all these devices, QNX devices included, and take that data in real time and bring it to different places. So when we look at this so-called passport device, it could be a device that has the kind of screen and kind of usability that it could be able to bring MRI scans and CAT scans directly onto a device and be able to, again, send that data in other places. The implications overall for like healthcare, automotive, and where BlackBerry is taking their industrial focus, they did focus on 4 different mediums within the webinar. They focused on consumer, industrial, automotive, and healthcare. So it's really interesting to see consumer on that playing field,
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, because Sergio from Google, or Sergi, sorry, whatever, he has like the voice problem, and he always mentioned that they want to make medical data more accessible and like kind of open source it. And I'm almost, in my mind, I was just thinking when you're talking about all that, James, it's almost like BlackBerry is doing it internally, but it's almost like Google, if they get to the point, Google would be a good partner because they really want to further that and do it in a safe, open environment. And that's actually kind of, I haven't connected the two. That could be interesting, actually.
There are so many implications for it. I mean, what the CEO of NantHealth, and again, this is the richest man in healthcare right now. He is the top chain of the healthcare industry. He's driving a lot of the innovation moving forward. Supposedly, they racketeered about, I think it was $1 billion for their initiative right now, and it's already touching 3 million lives across the country. So it's pretty adept right now, and BlackBerry, of course, just took a minority stake with these other companies to help support it, because QNX is running on a lot of their medical devices right now.
No, it's fun. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, just to close off real quick here, he mentions, here's his parallel. He says you could move within a city to different places, and your medical records literally have to be sent place to place. Yet you could go over to your friend's house and pop on a Netflix movie and watch it instantaneously. He's like, that's the way data needs to be. We need it real time. We need it at our fingertips. And imagine if you have your full medical record. He talks about something as well called, I think, a collective intelligence, so that we have sensors on your body. We have your full medical records transparently across wherever it needs to be, that we can learn and tell you, both the client and the doctor, as to what you need, what would be the best type of care for you in this situation, because they have a full record of everything, at their fingertips.
So cross-platform, cross-device integration then.
Yep.
Also, a lot to do with like medical stuff. A lot of it has to do with trends. So if you Well, if all the medical data is in one database and it's all like shared and all that, you can find out and see what drugs are working better for these people with these type of attributes, these types of medical histories, and then you can make a better decision on what type of drugs are likely to work on your patient based on that information. So it's also got some diagnosis
Yep.
benefits
Collect.
as well, not just the what's it called, the simplicity of having your records everywhere. It's also got some real tangible benefits in terms of actually diagnosing and coming up with cures to stuff as well.
Mhm. What was interesting, just to close on that little webinar piece that they did, it talked a lot about, and it was just kind of like an overall motif that BlackBerry is now working to extend data security beyond the firewall. It's something they already did with our BB10 devices and our BlackBerry devices, that we can take it outside and do social things with it, have social apps, but we still have the security across. What was interesting is that they kind of want to take that same medium and kind of transcend that to different devices. Be able to put QNX agents onto other devices and then pull in that data securely into the whole network as a whole. So overall, I mean, we've seen a couple different things in regard to all of this. Where do you guys see BlackBerry's next kind of advancement? Do you see it pushing forward more in automotive or healthcare?
Healthcare.
You think it'll
It's
be
healthcare.
I would say healthcare in the immediate future. I think overall we're going to see a lot more, I guess, of a visual presence of QNX and BlackBerry in the automotive space, just because that space, I see it moving so quickly in the next few years with like I said this before, and I always say it all the time, with automated vehicles and all the new infotainment systems coming into the cars. I just see QNX being able to play such a big role in there, and it's already got such a big foothold there.
Would you see
Yeah.
possibly BlackBerry maybe developing? Oh, sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Would you see maybe BlackBerry kind of developing something akin to like CarPlay or what did Google unveil at I/O, which is their equivalent?
Android
Auto.
car or some.
Yeah, the Android Auto or something like that.
Yeah. No, I don't see them playing that type of a role. I see them playing of more of the
bare
data
bones to it.
infrastructure, the network infrastructure between interconnected cars and all that. Like, so
Which-
to make sure that no one can hack your car and control it, BlackBerry will have
Okay.
that security there,
Oh,
so
God.
that you don't have the mafia controlling your car and
So
stealing it from
Make
you or
you
something.
kill somebody.
Yeah.
Well, CarPlay runs off of QNX though, right?
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's the kind of relationship BlackBerry wants to have with Project Ion. At the core, we want to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
We don't want to necessarily be what you see or what you interact with, but we want to empower it. And I think that's a testament to what they want to do in the security aspect that they actually bring to the table
I
for
mean,
their competitive advantage.
that really is what QNX is and has been, because very few people know that QNX is what's in the satellites, that's transferring the images from space and all this, and like the bullet trains and stuff like that. People don't even know that it's running off QNX and BlackBerry owns QNX. It's like this quiet thing, but they're there.
You don't
So-
you don't look at a train, go into the cockpit, and be like, oh, it's a QNX system. Like, it's the type of stuff that you wouldn't know it's QNX unless
Which I
you,
think that's so much more powerful
Yeah.
at the end of the day, but it takes so much longer. The bad publicity with BlackBerry is the problem really at this point.
Mhm.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's Dan Dodge, who's the CEO of QNX, had mentioned that QNX to him is a stealth company. They're a wraith in the industry. You don't hear about them, but they're always doing things. They're always coming out with new initiatives, new ideas, and continuing to push the envelope. They've been here for 35 years. They came out with their first operating system before Windows and Apple Lisa even. They've been around for quite a long time. I think Linux is the only one that was actually older than them from conception. But and I like bringing this kind of metaphor or comparison up with people when I discuss these different operating systems. I learned this at BlackBerry Live. You have these kernels in different OS bases, be it hybrid or monolithic, on iOS and Android, and those different Windows as well as a hybrid kernel. Those systems are running millions of lines of code at the kernel level just to run the OS as itself. And of
Mhm.
course, you have the application drivers and different things on top of it. Okay, we're talking like 3 million lines of code. You
Even
want,
I think Microsoft is 7 million.
yeah,
They're
it's
running
it's
off macro kernels.
yes, they're
Yeah.
huge. They're huge pieces, and like finding bugs within that
That was
is
monolithic.
incredibly difficult. Because there's
Yeah.
so much code to go through. But with QNX, the base that they have on their real-time OS is only 100,000 lines of code.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
that is so impressive when you look at it as a
So it's
whole.
Yeah.
such a
People throw
dramatically
that to the
streamlined.
side. Yeah.
Just the base operation. Android is something that goes on top of the kernel. That's
Mhm.
more code. That's something
Yeah.
else. I'm talking about that base kernel, just what's running the different operations between hardware and software.
The
Mhm.
reason for that is in the past that's what there had to be. Microkernels didn't exist. But this really shows how new BlackBerry 10 really is compared to the competition, seeing as pretty much everything else is running off a macrokernel and we're on a microkernel. It's going to get to the point where iOS and Android, they're going to have to switch over to a microkernel. It's going to be what they're going to have to do. And when they make that leap,
Is that
they're
what
not going to go
BlackBerry?
through as much shit as BlackBerry did, but at least we'll be stable, we'll be established on the microkernel.
Is that what Android, like the ART thing is? That they're bringing in with newer Androids?
Genuinely not sure about that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's an RTOS of any kind. I think it's just another runtime environment that's not
Yeah.
Dalvik.
Oh, okay.
I think it would be a very, very, very big leap for them to switch over from the macro to micro. It wouldn't just be a little implementation on the newer
Hmm.
phones. It would be,
It's a ground up rebuild, and I think I've said many times in different articles that BlackBerry is not late; they're early because
yeah,
they really are on the cusp of where we're actually headed in the industry. And I think time will tell that security has to be something built in at the very fabric of what you're doing, and that's how BlackBerry has always done it, and they continue to focus on that security aspect. Um, what kind of devices do you know QNX runs on?
Besides BlackBerry 10 in the playbook,
Yep.
God, I I mean maybe on some embedded systems, but I can't really think of anything like consumer oriented.
Have you guys ever seen the Logitech remote
Yeah.
before? That runs on QNX.
Oh, wow.
The system that actually runs the laser scanning system on the International Space Station and the shuttles, Neptic, runs on QNX. And literally after the Columbia disaster, they went to QNX to find a solution to be able to scan the outside of the ship to actually tell whether any tiles were broken or
Yeah.
worn down or anything like that.
You know what's funny about that? Actually, there was just a news report this week that the Canadian Space Agency and NASA are teaming up, and Canada's providing the laser systems for a what's it called? An expedition to an asteroid to scan the asteroid and stuff and bring back a piece of rock. So who knows? Maybe that laser system is running QNX.
Yeah. Next thing we know, Google Glass will be running QNX.
I'm actually reading a post right now. It's there have been rumors about QNX running in all of Ford's embedded systems.
Yep, that was announced.
Right now, there's Microsoft Sync in them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work, and it boots out, and it crashes, and
My brother has been
not
using it. Yeah.
How is it for him? Good, bad?
He actually, when we were going car shopping, he really wanted a Ford Focus, and he said, I want it to have Sync. He's like, I love Microsoft Sync. But the thing is, he's coming from a 2002 car that had nothing Bluetooth related whatsoever. So this is such a step up from what he's used to. He loves it. I don't know how great it is. He can't, there are a few limitations trying to connect the phone to the car, but I don't know. He likes it. I just, it's difficult to go based off that. He's never used anything else. He doesn't know anything different.
Yeah, can only live within the realm that you perceive.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, what else do you guys think would be a viable place for BlackBerry to kind of jump off with? We see the Passport. What's the next big innovation? Another rectangle? Like, where do we see them actually going?
Toasters and do what Samsung did. Go for appliances, toasters, There's a WebOS toaster. It actually exists.
Supposedly BlackBerry is running QNX underneath LG's appliance system
Smart
already.
appliances?
Yeah,
Wow.
smart
Dude,
appliances.
if
Through a China partner.
when it gets to this point that we have these fridges, these smart fridges in our kitchen, and say you go in there and you have a 6-pack of beer, you drink 2 beers, the next day you drink 2 beers, the next day you drink 2 beers, then it gets consistent. It's like, hey, this person is drinking, a
Beers
pack of
every day.
beer every 3 days. So on day number 2, when there's 2 beers left, boom, sends up to Amazon, automatically buys you a 6-pack of beer, and
The
gets
drone comes.
delivered to your house. And that's what is going to be the future. And I don't even know if we're ready for it, but it'd be cool to be in there if BlackBerry could
Well,
get some kind of cut of that.
it's like Target where they got in trouble because some woman got like an email saying congratulations on the baby, and her husband didn't even know she was pregnant, and like she didn't even she had just found out she was pregnant, and it's interesting because like this company could tell that she was pregnant based on the purchases she was making before like even her husband knew
That's
she
cool.
was pregnant. It was crazy.
It's scary. It's definitely cool. It's scary though.
It's cool with a hint of underlying, you gotta be cautious about this technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we covered everything we need to cover, guys. What do you think? There was not much else that happened.
Z30.
Z3?
The Z30.
Z3.
Prototype, the Z30
Oh,
prototype.
I mean, it existed. It
Yeah.
was there.
Whatever.
It had supposedly USB 3.0, potentially quad core. I mean, did you guys see as well? They just posted like Lucky Patcher or something like that to patch Google services on BlackBerry 10.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
I need to try that out. Anyone try it? No?
I don't feel like diving into it. I'll wait for 10.3, whatever.
Also,
But yeah,
don't forget.
let us know.
Also, don't forget, Mockit is out on BlackBerry World. Mockit 2.0.
2.0.
Give
Dude,
it a
Mockit's
shot.
so cool. Mockit's awesome.
Yeah.
I use Mockit like every day. I put
I use it
pictures.
too.
Yeah, I put pictures of like Alex inside of Z10s, and then I send them to Jeremy.
It started off as this little app, and he just grew this thing, and it is a beast now. So it's a really well-developed app.
One of my favorite apps on BB10 for sure.
Yeah, he's put a lot of work into it.
And it has Express integration now, which is really cool. 'Cause I like using Express, and now that we can alter the images right on the spot there with Mockit, it's really great. It's really useful.
Anyway, guys, I really appreciate having you on today, Matthew. Great having you on the team to bring us some more perspective on the other operating systems out there.
Yep.
I know people hate so hard on your articles, but I do enjoy reading them still.
Why do you hate BlackBerry?
Why do you?
I hate BlackBerry because Concrete hates my Q10.
Why didn't you buy another BlackBerry? Would say the fans out there. They'd be like, what's
Because I was
wrong
about to
with
buy a Z3, but someone didn't want me to buy a Z3.
you? Now I'm gonna regret ever saying anything about that. Anyway,
I
guys,
was just about to hit purchase.
were you like right at the cusp of that?
It was literally about 5 minutes out from just clicking on the link and doing it, but then you convinced me to get a Z10. And I almost bought the Z10 too, but I thought about it. I was like, let's wait for the Passport at this point. It's only 3 months out.
Passport Classic Z3 Plus, be it LTE or whatever. I think it's worth waiting, honestly. Save your money up. Put that in the back pocket. Anyway, guys, I appreciate having
Take
you
it
on.
easy. Always a
You guys
pleasure.
take it easy.
Until next week.